Hello everyone, welcome to this IWCON talk. I'm Samita from IWCON team and your host for this session. This IWCON talk and networking event is brought to you by Zero Point Security, Yes We Hack, Patchain, Saptang Labs and our cool community sponsors. Our speaker for this session is John Opdenakker and he's an amazing Infosec professional and blogger. He'll present a talk on impact security at scale. So I hope you all enjoy the event. During the talk, you can put your thoughts in the chat and you can ask questions in the Q&A section and we will take them at the end. And don't forget to show your love via emojis. You can also take the screenshots and share on Twitter. Tag us, tag John, and put hashtag IWCon 2022. We will pick the lucky winners and give them giveaways. So yeah, do that. All right. I welcome John to the stage now. So John, it's all yours. You can go ahead. John, you can start the session. John, are you there? I think John is facing some issues, everyone. Just give him a minute. Till then, you can take the screenshot and share it on Twitter that this session has started now. Yeah, John.
Okay. I think the problems are solved by now. I hope so. So, hi everyone, and welcome at my session, my talk about impact security at scale. And like the title says, this talk is about how organizations can improve their reach and their impact on their security efforts. So, let's start with a little bit about me. I'm John. I'm from Belgium, and I'm a security manager in my daytime job. I also founded my own security consulting in which I try to help companies with improving their security at scale. I have my own website, and if you like to follow me, you can do so on Mastodon or on Twitter. So let's jump straight into this. So why does AppSec not scale? What are the bottlenecks that cause bad application security and prevent companies to improve their application security at scale? Well, first of all, there is the perception that application security teams are understaffed. And this might differ from company to company, but I will show you some numbers that back up this perception. So, what you see here is a ratio. According to JFrog, for 200 developers, there are 5 ops engineers and only 1 security engineer. These numbers are from BSIM 12 report, in which they say for 135 developers, there's only 1 AppSec engineer. I don't know which numbers are correct, but what I know from experience is that there's a lot of developers, not a lot of ops engineers, and even less AppSec professionals.
John,
So
your screen is not visible.
what's happening?
Just click on that arrow button.
So do I start over again or?
You can start over.
Okay. So Third time, good time. So there are some technical issues. So let's quickly start over again. My talk is about impact security at scale. So how organizations can improve their impact and their reach to provide security. A little bit about me. I'm John. I'm a security manager from Belgium, and I have my own security consulting, in which I try to help companies to improve their security at scale. So you can I have a website which you can see there, or you can follow me on either on Mastodon or on Twitter. So let's jump into this. Why does AppSec not scale? Well, first let's see what some of the bottlenecks are. First of all, there's the perception that AppSec teams are understaffed, and I have some numbers to back up this perception. So the fact that it's understaffed as such, see this ratio from JFrog, it says that there for 200 developers, there's 5 ops engineers and only 1 security engineer. Or from the BSIM 12 report, for 135 developers, only 1 AppSec engineer. I don't know who's right, which numbers are right, but what I know from experience is that there's a lot of developers, not a lot of ops engineers, and even less AppSec engineers. So this seems like a real problem. And if we want to fix this or address these numbers,
John, your screen is not visible.
well, I don't know what's happening.
Have you
I'm
shared your slides?
I
Just click on
shared
that. Just click
I
on that
shared
arrow.
I shared, and then the the camera muted or disappeared, and
Okay, now it's red.
so what do we do now?
Yeah, just carry on. No need to start again.
I'll carry on. I'll carry on. Um, so what are we need to take a step back and see to fix this problem. So companies more and more are adopting methodologies like DevOps and Agile. And what both DevOps and Agile have in common is that they want to deliver value to the customers. But then, if we think about it, so like DevOps is actually DevOps is unites people, process, and technology. That's what it's the philosophy behind it. But if we think about it, and security isn't integrated in DevOps, then the AppSec team will just be a consultant just before release of the code, and this is just too little, too late, because the AppSec team becomes a bottleneck and literally a gatekeeper who will decide whether the application can be deployed or not. Certainly, an agile way of working with sprints of 2 weeks, this is really problematic. Also, a little about the DevOps. It could be even a more traditional or outdated approach, where you have a dev, ops, and application security, which is all isolated. Another point I want to make: you see here the DevOps, but actually you should see this as a continued, endless cycle of these steps. But I've just drawn it like this. So what's the solution to this problem? Well, that we have to integrate security into this way of working, and then we talk about DevSecOps. So what I did here is I put some security activities that typically are done in the different steps or the different phases. So, for instance, if you go and think about when software design or architecture, you think typically about activities like threat modeling, because you want to know, given your threat profile, you want to know if your architecture has any gaps. You want to gather requirements from that. During code and build phase, you want to do activities like static code scanning, activities like software composition analysis. This is really important. In particular, software composition analysis nowadays is really important. We see a lot of supply chain attacks, Same for secure defaults, and for this, for instance, OWASP ASVS, Application Security Verification Standard, is really good just to have secure defaults, secure coding practices, but also secure architecture defaults. Then we have test activities like dynamic scans. Also, of course, in deployment, if we deploy our applications, go to productions, we want our cloud security hardened. We want our secrets managed securely in key vaults, and also in the operational phase, we want to do the right activities. This is security right in the place where it needs to happen. And this shifting left helps enormously, because now you can also involve the development team to do a lot of these activities. And if you think about it, they are well placed to do it. They know the architecture, they know the code, they can assist with several of these activities. And as a benefit, you get better security, a lot better security, and early detection of vulnerabilities, which cost a lot less time and money. So what you really want to do is identify security champions within these development teams. The architect, the developer, which has a natural interest in security, you really want them to help you with the automation, with all these kind of security tasks. Actually, they can be the amplificator of your message, and they can also mentor the other people in the teams, which gives the AppSec team a lot more time to to train security champions and do more, more other work, like more difficult security stuff to do. But this should be the general working of the team. And DevSecOps really assists because of automation. This is really suited because of automation. You could, for instance, automate. You could manage infrastructure as a code, and which developers can really handle this, like it says, as code, and just manage it via CI/CD pipelines. So it's really the if this works together, you can, reflecting back to the numbers, you can, offset a lot of work to the development team, to the security champions. Of course, still you're there to assist and do some security activities, but you really get get a lot more work done. So maybe one more thing that I wanted to add here is if you look at that, every organization is different with a different maturity. So how do you start? Well, like everything, it depends, but not depends is that you really should do an assessment of your maturity. Where are you now as an organization, and how can you evolve, and what are the goals that you set? For instance, you could use OWASP SAM to do so, which is a maturity model, which can do, and you can do the assessment, which has for different security activities and streams, you can set maturity levels, and you can really build an iterative AppSec program around it. So that's really the way forward, because it's not it really doesn't matter if you're a small organization or a big organization. What we really want is manage these three P's: people, process, and product. And we can do so by collaboration between the DevOps and security team, and have security champions in the dev teams. This is really important. They are really the extension of your AppSec team. Given the process and product, it's all about secure software development life cycles and a DevSecOps approach, which is really suited to do that. By no means anyone needs to do a DevSec approach, but this is a really proven good way to do it, which I think can help you. Well, unfortunately, if we want to impact and improve security at scale, it's not only about application security. So let's have a look at this. What you see here is a nice picture of some of the world's biggest data breaches and hacks. And how bigger the circle, the more data that got leaked. And some of these companies got hacked, got their customer facing applications hacked, but others got their internal systems hacked through weaknesses, or because their employees got phished or fell for another social engineering attack. But that shows that application security is not enough, and we also need to improve security at scale for processes, for internal systems, and also make sure that the awareness, I will talk later about it, our awareness is effective and that we reach people into into having better security practices. So one step back, a common theme here is passwords, because if you look to the Verizon's data breach investigation reports, year after year, you see that over 80% of data breaches come from password vulnerabilities. So if we can focus on passwords and on proving them, we can certainly fix things or improve things at scale. There's one little problem though. People are really bad at passwords. People really use the dog's or the cat's name as password. People use password, the word password as password, or 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. These are the most common used passwords year after year. They're topping these lists. And it's not only bad passwords, it's the fact that we reuse. What you see here is from a study performed by Google, a survey in 2019. And they surveyed 3,000 American adults around their beliefs and practices concerning online security. And one of the results is that only 35% uses a different password for all their accounts. But why is that such a big problem? Well, let's look at this extract from a paper from Microsoft of 2016. And this part is in particular about credential stuffing. And if you, there are two, for maybe I explain credential stuffing. Credential stuffing is an attack in which criminals use previously leaked usernames and passwords against site to gain access. But they don't do that one by one. They do that automated, and they do that at an average of 12 million credential pairs every day against Microsoft systems in 2016. Once again, we see here a number of 49% of people that reuse the same password across two sites. So they're at risk at if that password get leaks, they're at risk at all the sites where they use it. And it's even only ramped up. In 2019, it was no longer 12 million credentials per day, but 20 million credentials. So it's a massive problem. What we see is that criminals really use passwords to attack us at scale. That brings me to the following: how should we, as an industry, how should we deal with this? Is this purely a user problem, or is it our responsibility as builders of applications as well? Well, I'm not going to argue if it's our responsibility, but we're certainly, as an industry, not helping people. I'm generalizing. There are companies that are doing a great job, but we still see very often things like this. This is a password strength meter, and what it does, yeah, it does what it says. It gives, when at account creation, it's going to do an assessment of how strong your password is. But it does so purely based on how long it takes to crack your password. And then you get a score of 68%, and the fact that's a strong password. I gave in there, I really did it, password, capital P, A replaced by an @ sign, O replaced by a 0. Nicely fulfills the minimum requirements and is considered strong. But that's not the reality. This password has been leaked almost 84,000 times. This is from Have I Been Pwned, by the way. data breach, a well-known data breach aggregation site. Um, so what's wrong with it, and how can we do it better? Well, these are anti-patterns, because if you look and read into what NIST says, or gives as guidelines, they say don't enforce complexity requirements anymore. Check against list of breach passwords. So if a password is breached and you can't, it's not possible to block all breach passwords, but certainly such weak passwords like this one, you block them straight away, prevent people from using them. And there's much more in the NIST guidance, but we see time and time again that a lot of systems are still implemented like this. And then we were like wondering why people hate passwords so much. It's even for me, as in between quotes, more advanced user using a password manager, a lot of sites give me a very hard time. Another anti-pattern that we have that we see implemented at scale, and that's this one. People get asked to change their accounts, their company account every, let's say, 2 or 3 months. This poll is from 2 days ago. So I was really, well, I wasn't actually surprised, but 50% of people has to go through this painful experience time and time again. And what do? They increment the number at the end. So how is that for about improving security? So we make people even hate passwords more, and then we wonder that they're using bad passwords. Anyway, there's a lot more to say about why this is a bad practice. I've added the link to a post I wrote several years ago. But the point I want to make here is that we just can influence security at scale in a very, very bad way if we don't think about it. Yes, but compliance. Indeed, what we saw is the forced pass or the mandatory password rotation. I took the example of PCI DSS. What PCI DSS says is that each 90 days you should change your pass, or that employees should change their password. And it's often said, yes, but we can't change this because of compliance. Well, it's not true. This is a bit hilarious, if I may say, because PCI on their website, they refer to NIST special publication where they say, yes, you could do it, but don't do it, and don't drop this in isolation, and do all the necessary bits like NIST says it, and also document it as a compensating control, and you need to be able to demonstrate it. So it's not that it's not possible, but it's a lot of work. And with a lot of these things, they aren't challenged. Maybe no one knows anymore why it's done, but it's done always like that. But it's not beneficial to security. Well, I've been talking a bit about passwords, but MFA will solve all our problems, right? Well, not exactly. What's really interesting is about what Google did. They did in 2017. They gave all their employees a security key, yeah, a physical key, a USB security key, and this was really successful because this article is from 2018, and in between there were no reports of account takeovers. So it really works. So what's the problem? Why am I talking about passwords? Well, because first of all, MFA is not unhackable. A security key would be quite difficult, as we see, but other methods like SMS or authenticator apps, there are enough examples of how they can be hacked, or bypassed. 2FA can be bypassed, or the user can be tricked in approving prompts. Uh, so then that's not bulletproof. But there's also the fact that there's really slow adaptation of MFA. And this article is from this year. I was really unpleasantly surprised to see that only 22% of all Azure Active Directory enterprise clients have adopted two-factor authentication. Only the rest relies on use just usernames and passwords. Just imagine that they all have this complex mandatory password change and they don't monitor against breach passwords. This is just a recipe for disaster. But yet here we are. So also from an end user, from a consumer perspective, these are stats from Twitter. Adoption is really poor. Only 2.6% of people has 2FA enabled, from which most have SMS 2FA enabled. So yeah, really, and you might think for development audience it will be better, but even then in 2020 for npm developers it was less than 10%. There have been numbers for Gmail from 2018 was less than 10%. So really there is no adoption at scale for 2FA. And while you can argue for companies they should force, they should mandate it, but for their internal for their employees it's it's just not happening. But also for customer and customer facing applications, why is it not happening? Because it's just still a painful experience. If I look for instance to my dad, he's just not able to configure two-factor authentication. It's too difficult. So Google tried it and they have onboarded people and mandated two-factor authentication. They got a lot of help desk. It's just it's just not the way, feels not just of the way forward by any means. Enable to FA, it's a good thing to do, but this will not simply not scale. So what's the solution then? Can we go passwordless? Yeah, sure. And should we go passwordless? Yes, because what the word says, no longer using a password as as your yeah, to authenticate you. That's a real big benefit because we're all really bad at passwords. So that reduces risk. It also will save us a lot of money as companies because people don't have to go through the painful password change, password reset processes. So it's beneficial. The only problem is we're not there yet. We're just not there yet, and this won't happen overnight. We see we see a lot of we see that it's changing, and it's changing at a good pace, but we're not there yet. So what do we do in the meantime? So yes, passwordless, but I would also say plan for passwordless where possible and less passwords in general. Have less passwords, reduce them, and protect them properly. So what and also from a company perspective, certainly implement SSO wherever possible. Use single sign-on because people have to log in less, have to provide their password less and log in less. Yes, um, the remaining accounts you really want to manage them in a secure way. So introduce a password manager for Teams, and this is some for your business. So this is something really so beneficial, um, because you can, if you centrally manage it, you have an oversight about if you have shared faults about shared passwords. Yeah, we know people don't are not allowed to share passwords. The policy says so, but this is just a reality where we live by. So we have to deal with it, and we have to provide something that we can do it in a secure way. And not only that, people can really manage their own passwords in a secure fashion. The big difficulty, and I often hear this or on Twitter, in Twitter discussions as well. Yeah, but adoption is really difficult, and people are not using it. Well, you could say you just mandate it, but that doesn't work. It's not because someone has a tool on their device that they're going to use it. What really works is by working again with identifying security champions that can help you, but also by asking why people don't use it. Is there friction in use? And if you find these things and you see the adoption grow and you feel like people are really liking the tool, then they're going to be ambassadors and it's going to spread, and it's really, 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 really helpful. Another thing, what we're doing, me included, what I have learned over time, always focus on security. We have to focus on people doing their job and wanting to do that as productive as possible. So what we really want to do is tell them that a password manager is a productivity tool, which it is, and they will get the added benefits, and they will improve their own security and security of your company. So um, also, like, you can do metrics and see how you can improve, etc. So you can build a lot of awareness around password management, a central password management solution. And then, like I said, repeat this. Evaluate regularly if you can reduce passwords, and if you can reduce passwords, you can improve security really at scale. There's a lot more that we can do. Only have half an hour, and talk has started a bit late, so going to do this one quickly. But we can also invest and really should take care of access control. Things like least privilege access. This is really important for people using Azure. There are things like privileged identity management, things like identity governance for access reviews, etc. Use these to your benefit, because really, if an attacker is on your systems, they're going to try to find these users with high access, escalate privileges, etc. So you want a process about this. You want also an onboarding, offboarding, and this kind of deprovisioning, etc. You want it. Asset management, another aspect which is really underrated when it comes to improving security at scale. If you know your assets, you probably will detect that there's a lot of resources, assets you don't use anymore. Well, delete them. This is not this easier said than done, but this is a massive benefit. It reduces the attack surface, so that's really beneficial. Things like patching. That's why I like platform as a service, software as a service. You don't have to do patching yourself. So think about how you can scale that. Going to stop here, but you see other things: network segregation, disaster recovery. There's much more, but just to it's not only about passwords, but it's about finding these areas where you have to improve and where you can improve and do that at scale. Quickly about security awareness, what I see very often done is security awareness is typical lunch sessions and um, for instance phishing simulations, and we're doing over and over again, we're doing the same, and we're surprised that the outcome is not good, or that's or we even don't know what the outcome is. We suppose that we don't have impact, so we don't measure it at all. We have no, yeah, we were just doing things, and we're like, yeah, driving blind, and this is a real problem. If you want to do security awareness at scale, you must yeah, you must know you have a plan, and you must measure things. Also, you must make, if you do sessions, make them fun, engaging, and interactive. And instead of a really dry security session, yeah, let's do some hacking. Do it ethically. Some simple things like when you're allowed to do on an environment where you're allowed to do a SQL injection, whatever. Show them how easy it is to get uh, to hack an application. Also, you could do a social engineering simulation, which you can do live or you can record, and then it's things like this where you can tell people, look, and you do it on a positive. You can tell in a positive way and say, look, you can make a difference here by stopping it. Don't scare them. Like, if you do this, you're stopping it. Well, you're part of the solution. Make this all very personal, because if someone can improve security in their personal life, they will also more, if they get info directed to them as person, they will also apply that in a professional context. Explain them why. Ask what the problems are, like I said with the password manager, and you will see that your community will build also a proof point, find these security champions and appoint them. Think about giving rewards. like I say, measure, learn, and improve, and please think that about it. Security is not their job. They're doing their job, and you want them to do that as secure as possible, but have empathy for their situation, and communicate in a good way. Listen, and that's really important. So, quick wrap up, because I've run far out of time. So if you want to improve and security, and wanted to scale, find these areas where you need to improve. Think about what you do. Also think about what you shouldn't do, because we've seen some. I've given examples of some anti-patterns, and which can do a lot more harm than good. And really, it's also about the people. After all, you can have processes, you can have secure quite secure applications, but it's still about people, and about yeah, getting them on board as well. So that was it. Apologies for the technical problems, but would like to thank you. And so I don't know if there are questions now or via the chat.
Yeah, thank you so much, John, for this amazing session. I hope everybody loved it. And we do have some questions, so if
Okay.
you have time, we can pick them up.
Yes. Please.
All right. So this is the first question. You can answer.
Uh, should I? Do I have to watch in the?
Yeah. So
Uh,
the first question is like, how does configuration management fit into DevOps?
well, obviously, if you apply configuration management, you want to do that as well. Like all the things, you want to uh, do this as code. Obviously, I would suggest you to really do your configuration management and your let's say your infrastructure as code, because really you have this at that moment you have environments which you can reliably reliably produce, and this helps security a lot.
All
I don't know if
right. Uh, so next question is how companies monitor and detect security breaches in systems.
well, obviously there are several things to this, but you could, for instance, there are services which you can subscribe to, but you can also for instance, for your domain, for your company's domain, you could subscribe to domain search, and then you can see if there are any data breaches, uh, stuff like this. Security breaches in systems. Well, if you it depends on what the question is, but well, what you typically will do in your own applications as well is you do pen testing. Yeah, you do all the testing. You do have all the different phases, but that's really more application vulnerabilities. For breaches, yes, obviously you don't always know it. If we're talking about vulnerabilities, then we're talking about all these phases in SDLC. If we're talking about our users in our Active Directory, we can subscribe to monitoring services as well, such that we can monitor them. And that's what I was trying to say. You should do this instead of forcing the password rotation. And what you want is only change when there's proof of when there's suspicion or proof of compromise. So
All
I don't
right.
know
Yeah. No, this is
if that's
helpful.
an
Thank you so
answer.
much. Yeah. There's next question. It's a bit long one. Can cryptographic keys and digital signatures help to go passwordless? In Web3, instead of using a password, a user can authenticate their identity using a private key that is stored on their device, right? So what's your take?
Well, that's not an easy question to answer here, but uh, w- yeah, it can help. But the point is, for going passwordless in general, is about, yeah, support, and about how quick can we? It takes time, and how quick can we evolve? So yes, when this is a possibility, but there's a lot more possibilities to implement passwordless.
All right. Thank you so much. That
We
marks the end of this event, this session. So thank you so much, John, for joining us
okay,
and giving this
okay,
wonderful session here. Uh,
okay. Thank you.
yeah, and everybody, you can take the screenshot and share it on Twitter. Tag John, tag us, and the more you do, the more are your chances to win giveaway. And now you can just go and chill in the lounge and network with other people until the next session starts. You will get a notification that the next session is starting, so you can just join in, and you will have lifetime access to all the recordings in AirMeet, so you can rewatch this session whenever you want. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, John, for joining us. Bye.
Thanks.